He had to force a smile, a mask of civility for the benefit of the attendees. The ballroom air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and the low hum of calculated conversation. On top of the usual business associates, there were the elder statesmen of families connected to theirs for generations, the Montgomerys and the Vanderbilts, each requiring a special degree of deference. Caleb felt the muscles in his face ache from the strain. He finally managed to slip away to a quiet corner by the bar. He was sipping a glass of water, trying to soothe his raw throat, his eyes scanning the opulent room for Leo. He figured a few minutes of playful banter with him would be the perfect antidote to the evening's suffocating formality. Just then, he saw Ryan approaching, a champagne flute in his hand. Caleb's brow furrowed slightly. If it weren't for the 100 pairs of eyes watching, he would have turned and walked away without a second thought. His dislike for his cousin had always been a quiet constant, but after the incident with their father's company, that dislike had hardened into pure contempt. He usually treated Ryan like he was invisible. Outwardly, Ryan had matured over the years. After the public fallout of his father's scandal, he'd been forced to endure the sidelong glances and whispered judgments of their social circle. When it became clear that the family patriarch had completely written off that branch of the family, Ryan's fair-weather friends vanished. The ostracism was one thing in public, but the cold shoulder he received within the family was another. In the year following his father's imprisonment, he seemed to undergo a transformation, shedding the skin of a common thug for the tailored suit of a more polished one. Ryan offered the drink to Caleb, a smirk playing on his lips. He was completely unfazed by Caleb's cold expression. His gaze swept across the gala. He commented on how lively it was, remarking that it had been a long time since he'd attended such a grand event. Caleb took a sip from his own glass, a faint, non-committal smile on his face. He simply asked what Ryan wanted. Ryan claimed he wanted nothing, that the event simply reminded him of his own 18th birthday. He recalled how his mother had tried to throw a party for him, but it was a pathetic affair compared to this. Their grandfather hadn't shown up, and many people had snubbed his mother's invitation. He then looked directly at Caleb, a knowing glint in his eye, and mentioned that he remembered Caleb giving him a gift for that birthday, a gift he remembered with perfect clarity. He asked Caleb if he remembered it too. Ryan's 18th had been the same year his father's crimes came to light. After the sentencing, his mother, desperate to rebuild her social standing, had seized on his birthday as an opportunity. The party, however, was a disaster. The family's disdain for that household was palpable. Caleb's own aunt, his disgraced uncle's sister, had never been close with her sister-in-law and certainly wasn't going to show up to support her. The rest of their circle were masters of sensing which way the wind blew, and they weren't about to cross the old man. Caleb knew that Ryan, only 18 at the time, must have been filled with resentment. The sins of the father had been visited upon the son. While Caleb loathed Ryan, he had to admit that, aside from a malicious streak, his cousin had never directly done anything to harm Leo. So he listened with a detached air as Ryan spoke. He vaguely asked if he had given him a watch, admitting that he couldn't recall, as he gave out so many gifts each year. The dismissal was sharp. Caleb expected Ryan's temper to flare, but instead, after a brief pause, Ryan just chuckled. He pointed out that they were all Caleb's brothers, but that he, Ryan, was his only true brother by blood. He then gestured subtly towards Leo across the room, noting how odd it was that the one with no blood relation received such preferential treatment. Ryan had a talent for hitting the exact nerve you tried to protect. Caleb's jaw tightened. If his words weren't so vile, Caleb might have almost been impressed by his newfound composure. He fixed his cousin with a cool stare. He acknowledged that he had accepted the drink, but warned Ryan never to let him hear such words again. He told Ryan that if he wanted people to like him, he should try having a fraction of Leo's talent and grace. He reminded him that at 18, Leo was nominated for a Golden Globe and commanded a six-figure salary. He then asked Ryan what he had been doing at that age. The mention of that time wiped the smirk from Ryan's face. Caleb stepped closer, creating the illusion of a confidential, brotherly chat for any onlookers. He leaned in and whispered, his voice a low threat. He told Ryan not to think he was unaware of his petty schemes. His silence so far was only because Ryan's actions had remained within the bounds of his tolerance. He warned him to watch his words in the future. He made it clear that while he was overlooking it now because they were family, his patience was not infinite. And as Ryan well knew, his temper wasn't always good. With that, Caleb clapped a hand on Ryan's shoulder, a bright, false smile fixed on his face, and walked away. Someone immediately intercepted him, and Caleb forced the simmering anger down, smoothly engaging in polite conversation. Tonight was Leo's birthday. He wouldn't let anyone ruin it. After the last guest departed, Caleb rubbed the bridge of his nose, feeling the exhaustion settle deep in his bones. He drank a glass of water, hoping to clear his head. Leo had also had a bit to drink and was standing beside him, dazed and swaying slightly. The old man had left hours ago, his age making late nights impossible. His mother, Eleanor, had wanted to take Leo home with her, but Caleb had insisted Leo stay with him, using the excuse of an early morning meeting near his penthouse. Since Caleb had moved out, Leo often stayed over. He'd come straight from class on Fridays and they'd head back to the family estate together on Sunday. It was a long-standing arrangement. The two had always been close, and Eleanor saw nothing unusual in it. She gave them a few parting instructions and let them go. Because Caleb had been drinking, she had the family driver take them. The moment they were in the back of the car, Leo, who had been standing perfectly steady just moments before while saying goodbye, seemed to melt. He collapsed against Caleb, a boneless weight, and laced their fingers together, using his supposed intoxication as an excuse. Caleb knew exactly what he was doing and felt a smile tug at his lips. But then he looked down at Leo's flushed cheeks and the glistening sheen on his lips, and a wave of heat washed over him, stealing his breath. He had only one thought. Why was the driver going so slow? 10 minutes later, the ride became an exquisite form of torture. Caleb was profoundly grateful for the privacy partition between the front and back seats. Leo had shifted, his head now resting in Caleb's lap. At first, it was innocent enough, but then Leo nuzzled against him, his movements shifting from aimless to alarmingly specific. He was pressing against the most sensitive part of him. Caleb knew Leo was a lightweight, and while he was sure this was mostly an act, he also knew Leo was genuinely tipsy. He gritted his teeth, trying to remain still. But a minute later, Leo tilted his head, his cheek rubbing against the blatant ridge in Caleb's trousers. Caleb sucked in a sharp breath. The thin wool of his suit offered little barrier. As the evidence of his arousal became undeniable, Leo's lips curved into a faint smile, and he pressed a light, teasing lick against the fabric. Caleb's vision darkened. His first instinct was to grab Leo and push him away, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. His hand rested on Leo's shoulder, a dead weight, devoid of force. In the 2 years since they'd crossed that line, they had explored nearly every intimacy, stopping short of only the final act. But Caleb had never allowed this. He couldn't bear the thought of it. But Leo, sensing Caleb's surrender in his stillness, let a triumphant smile touch his eyes. He adjusted his position and, with a hesitant awkwardness that betrayed his inexperience, began to move. The atmosphere in the car grew thick and heavy. The faint, muffled sounds were enough to drive a man mad. By the time they arrived at the penthouse, Caleb was a tightly wound knot of desperation. He managed a curt thank you to the driver and practically dragged the unsteady actor inside. Thankfully, the late hour and the deserted underground garage hid his own conspicuous state. He fumbled with the keycard, his hands shaking slightly. The moment the door to his apartment clicked shut behind them, he spun around, pressing Leo against the wall. Their eyes met in the dim entryway, and Caleb leaned down, his mouth crashing onto Leo's. The door slammed shut with a deafening boom. Leo's back hit the switch for the hallway accent light, casting them in a warm, amber glow. The only sound was the rustle of expensive fabric and the frantic beat of two hearts. The night was just beginning. Morning sunlight sliced through a gap in the curtains, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Clothes were scattered across the floor, and a duvet hung precariously off the edge of the bed, revealing a tangle of wrinkled sheets. The faint, musky scent of their lovemaking still lingered. On the bed, two figures were entwined. The older man stirred, a frown creasing his brow before his eyes slowly opened. He yawned, reaching for his phone on the nightstand to check the time. After setting it down, he rose, padded silently across the room, and drew the blackout curtains firmly shut. He slipped back into bed, carefully wrapping his arms around the other man and placing a soft kiss on his lips before settling back to sleep. When they next awoke, it was nearly noon. Leo was flushed with sleep, his face buried in Caleb's chest. The marks from the previous night were still visible on his bare shoulders. A jolt of desire shot through Caleb, but he suppressed it. They had gone late into the night, and he knew Leo needed to rest. He lay still for a while, waiting for the feeling to subside. His arm, trapped beneath Leo's neck, had gone numb. He tried to gently slide it out, but the slight movement caused Leo to stir. Leo shifted, rolling onto his stomach directly on top of Caleb, effectively pinning him to the bed. Caleb felt a wave of amused exasperation. Leo was still sound asleep, this maneuver clearly a well-practiced subconscious habit. He stroked Leo's hair, his hand moving in slow, soothing circles over his back. Leo had just returned late last night from a film shoot on location. They hadn't seen each other in nearly a month. Caleb had intended for him to get a full night's rest, but Leo had started his advances in the car on the way back from the airport. They had finally fallen into an exhausted sleep around 4 in the morning. As he gently caressed Leo, Caleb noticed the dark circles under his eyes and felt a pang of concern. It was a constant worry. Caleb wasn't a monk, and he loved holding Leo, but Leo's need for physical intimacy seemed to run deeper. It felt as though Leo was constantly seeking reassurance of their bond through touch. When Leo was younger, Caleb had dismissed it as youthful affection. But now, Leo was a man, and his clinginess had only intensified. Caleb cherished his affection, but it also worried him. He was nearly a decade older. He was confident he would outlive Leo, that he would never leave him to face the world alone. But life was unpredictable. If something were to happen to him, what would become of Leo? Could he survive on his own? Caleb knew he was being paranoid, but when it came to Leo, he couldn't help it. The man in his arms was the sweetest burden of his life. Leo mumbled, nuzzling against Caleb's chest as he slowly woke up. He made no move to get off, his voice thick with sleep as he asked what time it was. Caleb's focus returned to the present. He caressed Leo's cheek with his thumb. He told him it was almost noon and asked if he was hungry, or if he was sore anywhere, offering to get him some pain relief cream. Leo laughed, finally rolling off him. He grabbed Caleb's hand, pressed a kiss to the back of it, and said that with all the preparation Caleb always did, it never hurt. Caleb chuckled, leaning over to kiss his forehead. He pointed out that Leo must be hungry, since he hadn't eaten since getting off the plane. Leo stretched luxuriously, rolling across the bed until he was back in Caleb's arms, his own wrapped around Caleb's neck. He sighed contentedly, murmuring about how good it was to be home. He complained that the film's budget was tight and the hotel they'd been put in was terrible. He even saw roaches twice but felt he couldn't pay for his own upgrade without seeming like a diva. At the mention of roaches, Caleb's face darkened with disgust. He told Leo in a firm voice that if the accommodations or food were ever subpar, he was to change them immediately, without a second thought for what others might think. He made a mental note to speak with Miles, Leo's agent, about it. He asked about the food, running a hand over Leo's side and commenting that he felt thinner. Leo assured him the food was fine. The set catering was mediocre, but his assistant, a foodie, was always finding great little food stalls in town. He took Caleb's hand and placed it on his bare waist, insisting he hadn't lost weight, and in fact, felt he might have gained some. Caleb squeezed gently, his expression one of dissatisfaction. He remarked that Leo's stomach was completely flat, that he'd lost what little softness he had. Leo looked exasperated, pointing out that other male actors were showing off their six-packs and V-lines. He joked that Caleb had been feeding him so well he was starting to develop a paunch, complaining that Caleb was raising him like a prize pig. Caleb laughed at his expression, giving his arm a squeeze as well. He conceded that Leo had probably lost a pound or two, but that it would be easy enough to put back on. He proposed they go grocery shopping later and cook dinner. They could rest for the day and go visit their grandfather tomorrow. Leo agreed, snuggling closer and asking how the old man's health was. He'd heard from his mother that their grandfather had been sick recently. Caleb nodded, his own brow furrowing with concern. He explained it was just a cold, but at the old man's age, even something minor couldn't be taken lightly. He assured Leo that their grandfather was recovering well and that seeing Leo tomorrow would surely complete his recovery. A wave of relief washed over Leo. He confessed he'd been worried ever since his mother had called, but their grandfather always brushed it off on the phone. Caleb kissed him reassuringly, telling him not to worry. Changing the subject, he asked what Leo wanted for dinner, offering to cook since he had the day off. Leo smiled brightly, declaring that he'd love anything Caleb made. Caleb rose from the bed and pulled on a pair of sweatpants. He asked if Leo was in the mood for shrimp scampi, mentioning that they had received a delivery of fresh shrimp the day before. Leo nodded distractedly, his eyes tracing the lines of Caleb's bare torso. He commented with genuine admiration that all those photoshopped abs on other actors paled in comparison to Caleb's. Caleb shot him a look as he walked into the bathroom to wash up. He called out from behind the door that if Leo went to the gym every day, he could have a six-pack too, calling him a little lazybones. Leo just rolled over on the bed, stretching happily. He retorted that since Caleb was his, Caleb's abs were also his. One person in the house with a perfect physique was enough. He didn't need to suffer for it. Caleb shook his head, a smile on his face at the ridiculous logic. After washing up, he went to the kitchen to start on the pasta. The water was boiling and he was chopping parsley when he heard footsteps behind him. Without turning, he asked with a smile if Leo was up already, saying he thought he'd sleep a bit longer. Leo wrapped his arms around Caleb from behind, holding up his phone. He explained that he saw a news alert about another actor, Ethan, and got curious. On the screen was a photo of Ethan in a seemingly intimate pose with a famous actress. Leo wondered aloud if Ethan, who had just been complaining to him about being single, could have fallen in love so quickly. Caleb turned his head to give Leo a quick kiss before going back to his chopping. He dismissed it as a simple publicity stunt. He explained that Ethan had a new movie coming out and that his manager wouldn't let him get into a serious relationship for at least another couple of years. Leo said that made more sense. He then remembered that his agent, Miles, needed to speak with Caleb about something and asked him to call him tomorrow. Caleb asked if it was about Leo or one of Miles's other clients. Leo confirmed it was about him. He mentioned a major film whose director wanted him to audition. He explained that Miles had said he couldn't make the decision and needed to consult with Caleb. It was an open secret that while Miles was his agent on paper, Caleb made all the final calls on Leo's career. Caleb agreed to schedule a meeting. Leo hummed in contentment, nuzzling against Caleb's back and peppering his neck and shoulders with small kisses. Caleb, long accustomed to these displays of affection, continued cooking without missing a beat. The aroma of garlic, shrimp, and pasta filled the air. Leo's stomach suddenly let out a loud growl. Caleb laughed, turning to pinch his cheek. He told him the food was almost ready and asked him to set the table and bring out the cucumber salad. Leo grinned, taking out his phone and snapping a picture of the steaming pan. Caleb's hand was visible in the corner of the shot, which made Leo even more pleased. He multitasked, setting the table with one hand while tapping out a caption on his phone with the other. He was posting it online, he announced, to show the world how wonderful it was to have a brother like him. Sure enough, a few minutes later, Caleb's phone buzzed with a notification from the person he had set for special alerts. Leo Vance official. Wrap party at home. My brother's making me pasta. Also, check out his hands, now those are a man's hands. Caleb Vance. Caleb glanced at the comments, which were mostly from swooning fans expressing their envy. The kid loved to show off. He had a way of saying things in public that seemed innocent but held a deeper, private meaning that only the two of them understood. Caleb felt a familiar mix of exasperation and a deep, sweet affection. He replied with a simple emoji and put his phone away. The screen displayed the date, October 25th, 2012. After dinner, Leo insisted on doing the dishes. As Caleb watched him carry the plates to the kitchen, a message lit up his phone. It was from Simon, his business partner. There was an emergency video conference in 30 minutes. Simon, having picked up some of his cousin Julian's snarky habits, had dryly suggested the video call was to accommodate the fact that Caleb and Leo, having been apart for a month, were likely to be indisposed. Caleb logged onto his laptop at the appointed time. Simon wouldn't have called him during his dedicated time off unless it was critical. They were deep in discussion for nearly an hour. The moment he ended the call, Leo, who had slipped into the office unnoticed, launched himself at Caleb. He nipped at Caleb's earlobe, complaining that Caleb had promised to take the day off but had ended up in a meeting for an hour, calling him a liar. Caleb smiled, pulling Leo into his lap. They shared a long, tender kiss. When they broke apart, Caleb kissed Leo's damp lips again, apologizing and asking how he could make it up to him. Leo straddled his lap, arms draped around his neck. He whispered that he had been all alone and bored for over an hour. A spark lit in Caleb's eyes. He asked what kind of compensation Leo had in mind. Leo's breath hitched as Caleb's calloused hand slid under his shirt, stroking his lower back. His body went pliant. He captured Caleb's lips again, his voice a husky whisper. I want you, Caleb. After a pleasant afternoon tea in the study, Caleb carried a boneless Leo to the shower. Afterwards, they tumbled back into bed, tangled in the sheets. Leo lay curled against Caleb, playing with his fingers and rubbing the top of his head against Caleb's chin. He giggled, remarking that their life was utterly decadent. Caleb, feeling refreshed and content, kissed him and asked if he liked their decadent life. Leo sighed. He said that he loved it and could easily make time for more by just turning down a movie. But he teased Caleb, asking if the great CEO, a man who had to take a video conference on his one day off, could do the same. Caleb felt the sting of truth in the playful jab. He admitted that with the company expanding, he had been spending less time with him, and for that he was sorry. He then mused that in another 20 years, when he stepped back from the company and Leo stopped taking film roles, they could spend every day just like this, tangled up in bed. A warmth spread through Leo's chest, but he suppressed a smile, giving Caleb a mischievous look. He reached down and patted Caleb's hip. He asked if Mr. CEO guaranteed he'd still have the same stamina in 20 years, when he was an old man. Leo burst into a fit of laughter, curling up like a shrimp. His laughter was cut short as Caleb flipped him over and delivered a series of playful swats to his behind, a gesture that, for them, was just another form of affection. Caleb gathered him back into his arms, huffing that the little brat was getting bolder by the day. Leo just smiled, his eyes sparkling. He insisted he wasn't, that he loved Caleb more than anything, and snuggled in, kissing Caleb's jaw. He murmured that he would do whatever Caleb wanted. Caleb raised an eyebrow. He asked if that was really true, reminding him of who had just called him an old man. Leo quickly amended his statement, saying that if Caleb was an old man, then he would be one too, and they would grow old together. He finally met Caleb's lips, his eyes filled with an undisguised adoration. He pulled back just enough to whisper against Caleb's warm mouth. "Even when you're old, you'll be the most handsome old man in the world." A fire ignited in Caleb's chest, and he rolled on top of him, kissing him deeply. Leo's gaze was always so full of a love that seemed ready to spill over. It was a simple, unconditional devotion. He was so dependent on Caleb, so willing to yield. Even on things he desperately wanted, if Caleb was firm in his opposition, Leo would eventually, albeit reluctantly, give in. It sometimes made Caleb feel like he was taking advantage of him. He no longer questioned why Leo loved him, whether it was dependency born from childhood or something else. It didn't matter. He just felt incredibly lucky that by the time he had fallen completely in love with Leo, Leo had already given him everything. They stayed in bed until after 6, then lazily got up to go grocery shopping. Caleb had become a decent cook over the years, though he hated the mess and the lingering smell of oil, so he rarely did it. But tonight his mood was good. He made several of Leo's favorite dishes. After dinner, he didn't even let Leo wash the dishes, simply loading everything into the dishwasher. 3 years ago, for Leo's sake, Caleb had bought a new penthouse in a building with state-of-the-art security, a fortress no paparazzo could ever penetrate. After a walk around the neighborhood, they returned home. They settled into a comfortable routine, one on a laptop working, the other scrolling through his own, until it was time to fall into bed together. The next morning, well-rested, they woke up refreshed. Caleb had to go to the office. Leo's fame was growing, and with it, his workload. Though they lived together, the time they actually spent in the same place amounted to only a few months a year. When Leo was home, Caleb was at work. When Caleb had free time, Leo was usually off on a shoot or a promotional tour. After Leo's car service arrived, Caleb drove to the office. As he approached his office, his assistant stood up quickly. "Mr. Vance," she said, "Mr. Simon is in your office. He arrived early and said he would wait for you. He told me not to call." Caleb raised an eyebrow at the closed door and asked if Simon had said what it was about. The assistant shook her head. No, but he didn't look happy, sir. Caleb's brow furrowed. Simon's public persona was one of calm, urbane charm, a smiling fox. For his anger to be so visible that an assistant noticed, something was seriously wrong. He nodded and pushed open the door. Hold all my calls. Simon was on the sofa, staring grimly at a file in his hands. He stood up as Caleb entered and, without a word, handed it to him. We have a problem, Simon said. Between last night and this morning, I've received calls from a dozen different agents. These are the big ones. Caleb flipped through the file and his stomach dropped. It was a collection of termination notices. Several of the agency's top-billed stars, their reigning kings and queens of the box office, were simultaneously breaking their contracts, ready to pay exorbitant penalty fees to do so. Among them was one of Leo's closest friends, the award-winning actress Chloe Marsh. The only sound in the office was the rustling of paper as Caleb read through the documents. Each contract was different, but the intent was the same. Get out, no matter the cost, as fast as possible. It was a coordinated attack. If all these stars left Apex Entertainment, the financial and public relations fallout would be catastrophic. Just as Caleb finished the last page, Simon's phone rang again. His expression darkened as he glanced at the caller ID. It's Jenna Collins's agent, he said grimly. Caleb exhaled slowly. Take it. As Simon answered the call, his face growing even more strained, Caleb stepped out of the office and told his assistant to schedule an emergency board meeting in 30 minutes. Seeing the grim look on Caleb's face, the assistant's own anxiety spiked. Caleb forced a reassuring smile he didn't feel. It's nothing major. Just set it up. Is Mr. Davies in yet? She stammered that she didn't know but would call the talent director's office immediately. Caleb nodded and went back inside. There was no way Arthur Davies, the head of their talent division, wouldn't have heard about this. It was already 10:30 a.m., and he hadn't shown up or even called. Arthur was a shrewd businessman. Caleb had poached him from a rival studio years ago. It stood to reason someone else could be trying to poach him now. He was the only senior executive who wasn't an original founder. If someone wanted to gut Apex, starting with its talent roster and its head of talent was the smartest move. Caleb pulled out his phone and found Arthur's number, but hesitated. He put the phone away. He and Simon quickly strategized. The immediate priority was damage control and identifying the hostile entity behind the raid. 20 minutes later, the company's top executives were gathered in the conference room. Just as Caleb and Simon were about to start, Caleb's phone rang. It was Arthur. Caleb exchanged a look with Simon before answering. Arthur's voice was urgent. Caleb, who the hell did you two piss off? Someone is trying to burn you to the ground. The lack of evasion in his tone was a small relief. Caleb asked him what he knew. Arthur explained he was in the car. He'd been approached early that morning by a newly formed company. He was about to refuse their offer when he heard about Chloe Marsh wanting to terminate her contract. Sensing something was wrong, he took the meeting. The offer they made was staggering. More than 3 times his current salary at Apex. Caleb stopped walking. 3 times? That was insane. His offer to Arthur had already been at the top of the market. This new company was either monumentally stupid or playing a very deep game. That's not all, Arthur continued. This morning they approached Ethan. The contract they offered him is unbelievable. They'll cover his entire buyout fee from us, and his profit share is 40% higher than what he has now. And that's just for Ethan. I can only imagine what they offered Chloe. The amount of capital required for such an operation was astronomical. This new company was either hemorrhaging cash for a quick burn, or it was planning to operate at a massive deficit for years, all just to cripple Apex. Caleb couldn't think of anyone he'd wronged so badly that they'd be willing to throw away billions just for revenge. He told Arthur that the company's CEO must be insane. No sane artist would abandon the stability of Apex for a company with such a reckless business model. Arthur sighed. The terms are just that tempting. I have Ethan's offer with me. We're on our way to the office now. You need to see it for yourself. Caleb told him to send a picture of the company name from the contract and to join the meeting as soon as he arrived. After hanging up, he knew that while some artists were genuinely tempted, most were likely using this as leverage to renegotiate their own terms with Apex. In the back of the car, Ethan reread the contract and then looked at Arthur. Should I call Leo? He asked. Caleb will want to keep this from him, but he'll find out eventually. And he's so close with Chloe, he should probably talk to her. Arthur considered it for a moment, then nodded. Tell him. But tell him to act like he doesn't know until Caleb brings it up himself. The last thing Caleb needs right now is another distraction. Caleb felt a growing sense of dread. The attack was too fierce, too well-funded. This couldn't be the only move. The meeting was underway when Arthur arrived with the contracts. A quick search revealed the company's name, Ascendant Media. It had been registered at the beginning of the year. The CEO was a man named Victor Ho. On paper, he was flawless. Doctorate from a top domestic university, 4 years at a prestigious business school abroad, returned with a string of accolades. His family was well off, but nowhere near wealthy enough to finance an operation of this scale. Even if his father liquidated every asset, it wouldn't be enough. Aside from attending the same university as Caleb, they had no connection. There was no plausible reason for this vendetta. The source of Victor Ho's immense wealth was officially attributed to savvy stock market investments during his time abroad. The explanation was paper-thin, but someone with influence had clearly smoothed things over with the authorities. Behind Victor Ho, there had to be someone else. Someone with deep pockets and a deeper grudge. As the meeting wrapped up, Caleb, Simon, and Arthur retreated to Caleb's office. Simon reported that they had managed to temporarily placate the agents, who were happy to watch the two companies fight it out while their clients reaped the benefits. But it was a temporary solution. The key was Victor Ho. Neither Caleb nor Simon recognized the name or the face. Simon had already reached out to some of Victor's former classmates. They described him as a normal, sociable guy in college, but said he changed after going abroad, becoming distant and withdrawn. He hasn't spoken to his old college friends in years, Caleb added, reading from a preliminary report. He didn't even show up for his roommate's wedding, just sent a check. Simon's expression suddenly shifted. A look of dawning horror crossed his face. Caleb, he said slowly, do you remember where we sent him? Caleb froze. He looked at Simon, understanding immediately. You think? I have a suspicion, Simon said, glancing at Arthur before deciding to speak freely. My relationship with him was closer than yours was. He always put on a front around you because of his feelings. He was an extremely obsessive person. You might not realize how severe it was. Remember when we were 14? The first time you took Leo to lunch with Julian Croft and Leo had that allergic reaction? Simon's face was pale. Julian went to the hospital to see Leo afterwards, right? Did you yell at him? Argue about it? Because when he got home, that night, he drugged the family's Rottweiler, a dog they'd had for 8 years, and he dismembered it while it was still alive. A cold shock went through Caleb. What? Simon sighed, the memory clearly still haunting him. I was worried Julian would feel guilty, so I went to his house early the next morning. He wasn't in his room. The whole family was panicking, searching everywhere. We found him in the back garden, covered in blood, holding a knife and one of the dog's legs. He explained that Caleb had been completely focused on Leo's recovery at the time. The Croft family had hushed up the incident, and Simon had never told him, fearing it would only provoke Julian further if Caleb cut him off completely. Caleb felt his breath catch in his throat. He had always known there was something off about Julian, but this was a level of psychopathy he could never have imagined. His mind was already broken, Simon said. He and his family just refused to face it. You meant something different to him. After more than a decade in that sanatorium, and if he somehow found out about you and Leo, an act of this magnitude starts to make perfect sense. Caleb's face was a grim mask. He ordered Simon to contact the sanatorium in Switzerland immediately. For years, he had relaxed his vigilance, assuming Julian was no longer a threat. He now realized that the people meant to be watching him could have easily been bought. Confirm he's still there, then send a new team. Whether this is him or not, I won't give someone like that a chance to hurt Leo. The pieces started to click into place. Perhaps a child's intuition was purer, able to see the darkness adults missed. Perhaps that was why Leo had been terrified of Julian from the very beginning. Simon nodded. I'll handle it. Caleb picked up his phone to call Leo. Until this was resolved, he needed Leo by his side. As twisted as Julian's feelings were, he might not directly harm Caleb. But Leo was another story entirely. The phone barely rang once before Leo picked up. Caleb, he said, his voice tight with urgency. I just finished talking with Chloe. There are some things I need to tell you in person. Are you at the office? Hearing Leo's voice, a pang of fear and love shot through Caleb. He kept his own voice calm. I'm here. Come back. If this was Julian, things were far more complicated and dangerous than a simple corporate takeover. Julian was meticulous, never acting directly, preferring to work through layers of proxies. Caleb knew he would have to meet this Victor Ho himself. Arrange it, Caleb said to Arthur, who was still reeling from Simon's story. I want to meet this man this afternoon. I'm sure Mr. Ho will make time for us. After Arthur left, Simon stood up. I'm going with you. His gaze was resolute. Caleb nodded. Simon then added that Caleb needed to be careful about what he told Leo. If this was Julian, Leo was in extreme danger. Caleb closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. I know, but he was always afraid of Julian. Telling him everything now will only make him panic. I'll figure out how to handle it. He also warned Simon to be careful. They hadn't seen Julian in years. They had no idea what he had become. Leo arrived at the office in a whirlwind of anxiety, bursting into Caleb's office without knocking. He was breathless, sweat beading on his forehead. Caleb put down his lunch and motioned for him to come over. Leo grabbed Caleb's water glass and drained it in one go. He explained that Ethan had called him right after his event, telling him about Chloe. He had gone to see her immediately, and she had shown him the contract from Ascendant Media. He exclaimed that the terms were so ridiculously favorable it had to be a shell company. Seeing Leo so worked up had the strange effect of calming Caleb's own frayed nerves. He pulled Leo onto his lap, gently wiping his face with a napkin. He asked what Chloe had said about it. Leo explained that Chloe's agent wasn't a fool. She knew a brand new company couldn't offer the same resources as Apex. Her plan was to use this as leverage, since Chloe's contract was up for renewal next year. Caleb nodded, understanding. He told Leo that Arthur would handle the negotiations with Chloe, but that for now, Leo should minimize his contact with her to avoid any misunderstandings. Leo agreed immediately. He was always reasonable, always understood the bigger picture. Caleb felt a surge of warmth. He kissed him softly. "Leo, I want you to stay with me for a while. No more public events until this is over. I need you where I can see you." Leo blinked, finally taking a closer look at Caleb's face. "Caleb, what's really going on? Who is this ascendant?" Caleb didn't want to alarm him before he knew for sure if there was a connection to Julian. He just pulled him closer, his voice dropping to a murmur. "Everyone knows you're my weak spot. This attack is hostile. Until I know what their endgame is, I can't have my biggest vulnerability walking around unprotected." Leo protested that he was being serious. Caleb sighed, burying his face in Leo's neck. "Nothing is more serious than your safety." The words disarmed Leo completely. Just as he was about to press further, the intercom on Caleb's desk buzzed. It was his assistant. The meeting with Victor Ho was set for 3 o'clock. Ho had agreed to their proposed time and place without hesitation. Caleb's stomach tightened. The man's reaction was too strange, too eager. His suspicion about Julian hardened into near certainty. He told Leo he had to meet Simon to prepare, and that he'd explain everything that night, after he had met the man. He kissed Leo again and left, leaving his worried partner alone in the silent office. Preparations for the meeting were frantic. They knew Victor Ho had done his homework on them, but they knew almost nothing about him. The information from the university where he'd studied abroad still hadn't arrived. However, the live video feed from the Swiss sanatorium had. On the screen, Caleb and Simon watched as a staff member approached a man reading in a garden. It was unmistakably Julian Croft's face, though colder and harder than Caleb remembered. When Julian saw the camera, he sneered, his voice a low rasp. "What now? Another check to see if I'm still breathing?" Caleb instructed an associate, someone Julian had never met, to engage him in conversation. As the two spoke on screen, Caleb and Simon stepped aside. "He's still there," Simon murmured, though neither of them looked convinced. At 2 o'clock, they were in the car, on their way to meet Victor Ho at a discreet, private club. At 2:50, they were led upstairs by a hostess. As they approached a private room, the door opened. The face from the file appeared before them. "Mr. Vance, Mr. Simon. Pleasure to finally meet you." Victor Ho smiled, striding forward to shake their hands. He was handsome, with sharp, refined features that were slightly different, more polished, than in his file photos. His eyes were startlingly clear and sincere. Caleb and Simon exchanged a look, hiding their surprise. Ho was effusively friendly, clapping Caleb on the arm like an old friend and ushering them inside, commenting on the club's excellent tea selection and congratulating Caleb on his choice of venue. He had clearly been waiting for some time. Inside, he ordered a selection of their favorite snacks without asking, his knowledge of their preferences unervingly intimate. "The ambience here is perfect, don't you think?" Ho said, picking up a teapot. "Would you care for some of my dragon well tea? I find it exquisite." He started to pour a cup for Caleb. Caleb felt a visceral revulsion at the thought of drinking from a cup the man had touched. "I don't drink Longjing tea," he said, his voice flat. Ho paused, then set the pot down, his smile unwavering. He looked younger than his 35 years, an effect of his clean-cut features and earnest gaze. Simon decided to cut to the chase. "Mr. Ho, you don't seem surprised by our invitation." Ho laughed, a bright, open sound. "Surprised? I'm thrilled. Everything I've done was to get your attention. I was worried it would take much longer." The statement was so bizarre it bordered on insane. "What are you talking about?" Caleb asked, his voice laced with suspicion. Victor Ho launched into a passionate, grandiose speech. He declared that Caleb and Simon were his idols, brilliant, successful men he had admired from afar for years. He explained that he had desperately wanted to join their company after returning from abroad, but felt his business background wasn't a good fit for an entertainment company. Caleb forced a tight smile. "Mr. Ho, you're a man of immense talent. If you had applied to Apex, we would have been honored to have you. There was no need for such dramatic measures. But don't you see?" Ho said, his eyes shining with feverish intensity. "I couldn't just come to you as an employee. How could I presume to be a burden?" His gaze shifted to Simon, then locked onto Caleb with an unsettling possessiveness. "Mr. Ho," he said, "as a businessman, surely you know that your initial investment is so massive you may never see a return." Ho's eyes lit up. He shot to his feet, downing his tea in one gulp. "Exactly. That's the point. My plan will cause Ascendant to go bankrupt, of course. But by then, I will have acquired all of Apex's top talent and infrastructure. All of Apex's assets will be mine. And with Apex's current market position, how could I not make back the money, and more?" Simon was so taken aback by the sheer insanity of the logic that he almost laughed. "And what happens to Apex Entertainment?" Victor Ho's gaze turned soft, almost intimate, as he looked at Caleb. "If Apex becomes mine, then you become mine as well, don't you?" Caleb felt a wave of nausea. His face was a mask of cold fury. He was done. As if sensing his revulsion, Ho's expression became one of lovesick devotion. "I fell in love with you my second year abroad, Mr. Vance. I've bought a house and have been renovating it according to your tastes. I forgot the blueprints today, but I can fax them to you tonight. You can tell me if there's anything you'd like to change. Oh, and does it bother you that I'm a man?" Caleb stood up, his voice dripping with ice. "I think I understand what you're trying to do, Mr. Oh. In the future, I suggest you invent a more believable pretext. Not even a child would fall for this one. Since you have no intention of resolving this amicably, there's nothing more to discuss. Goodbye." He grabbed his coat and, with Simon at his side, walked out. Back in the car, a heavy silence hung between them. "How likely is it that it's Julian?" Caleb finally asked. "If that man is working for Julian," Simon reasoned, "given Julian's obsession with you, I doubt he'd tolerate him speaking to you that way. But the twisted logic. It's exactly his style." "Something is very wrong," Caleb said. "I need to go see Julian myself." Simon immediately objected, insisting that he should be the one to go. "It won't work," Caleb countered. "He's doing all of this to get to me. If I don't go, who knows what he'll try next." A cold fear gripped him. He might know about me and Leo. His phone rang. He glanced at the screen before answering. As he listened, the color drained from his face. The car screeched to a halt in the middle of the street. Caleb's mind was a roaring void. He hung up, his grip on the steering wheel so tight his knuckles were white. "What is it? What happened?" Simon demanded, his own heart pounding. Caleb squeezed his eyes shut, ignoring the blare of horns from the cars behind them. After a long moment, he opened them, unbuckled his seatbelt, and got out. He walked around to the passenger side. "Drive," he said, his voice raw. "Take me to my grandfather's house." Simon, seeing the terrifying look in Caleb's eyes, quickly started the car. "What's going on? Is it your grandfather?" "No," Caleb said, slumping back against the seat. "The old man sent his driver to pick up Leo right after we left the office. That was the housekeeper. She said Leo went into the study with him an hour ago and hasn't come out. She's worried." He closed his eyes. The old man was furious with Leo. There was only one thing that could provoke that kind of reaction. "He knows," Caleb whispered. The day he had dreaded for years had finally arrived. He had imagined this confrontation 1,000 times, but never, not once, had he imagined Leo would have to face it alone. By the time they reached the family estate, Caleb was out of the car before it had fully stopped. He rang the bell once before the housekeeper opened the door, her face pale with worry. He didn't say a word, just sprinted up the stairs and stopped before the study door. He took a deep breath and knocked. A few seconds later, the door was thrown open. His grandfather stood there, his face ashen with rage. He saw Caleb and, without a word of surprise, threw a manila envelope at his chest. "Don't say anything to me," he snarled. "First, you find out where the hell this came from." Caleb's gaze flickered past him into the room. He saw Leo, kneeling on the floor, his back to the door. A sharp pain lanced through Caleb's heart. He didn't hesitate. He dropped to his knees before his grandfather. "I know what this is," he said, his voice low and steady. "I'll find out who's behind it. I will not let this be used to threaten our family." "Grandfather, I'm sorry, but no matter what, I will not give him up." The old man, a pillar of strength who had weathered countless storms, visibly faltered. He stumbled back a step, nearly losing his balance. Caleb shot to his feet, catching him, while Leo scrambled over, his face streaked with tears. Together, they helped the patriarch to a sofa. Leo, usually so composed, was trembling, unsure of what to do. At a look from Caleb, he hurried to pour a cup of tea, his hands shaking so badly the cup rattled in its saucer. He offered it to his grandfather, his voice breaking. "Grandfather, please, drink some tea." The old man's hand trembled as he finally took the cup. After a few sips, a semblance of calm returned. He looked at the two young men by his side. "Caleb, you handle this. I have more to say to your brother." "I'll give it to Simon to investigate," Caleb said, his voice firm as he knelt again. "Whatever you have to say it to me. This is between the two of us. It's not Leo's decision alone." He reached out and took Leo's hand, lacing their fingers together. The old man looked at their joined hands, a wave of weary resignation washing over his face. "How long?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Almost 8 years," Caleb replied. 8 years. The old man seemed to shrink before their eyes. So many things suddenly made sense. Caleb's endless refusals of the women they'd introduced him to, his single-minded focus on his work. He was no fool. He had considered the possibility that his grandson might be attracted to men. But his own brother. He looked at Caleb, his voice filled with a profound, aching disappointment. "He was not even 5 years old when you brought him home. You told me you would raise him as your brother. How could you? He's a child you raised." "It wasn't like that," Leo choked out. "It was me. I fell in love with him first. If it wasn't for me." "Leo." Caleb's grip on his hand tightened, a silent command to stop. He couldn't let Leo take the blame. Facing his grandfather, he lowered his head. "It is my fault. I failed you. I failed our family. But my feelings for him are not a passing phase. For all these years, he is the only one I have ever wanted. No matter what, I will not be separated from him. You raised me. You know my character better than anyone." His grandfather stared at him, his lips trembling. He knew. He knew Caleb's stubbornness, his absolute resolve once his mind was made up. That was why, even when he first saw the photos, he hadn't considered trying to force them apart. He knew it would be useless. It would only fill them with a hatred that would poison their family forever. Though not of his blood, Leo was as much his grandson as Caleb. He had taught the boy calligraphy with his own hands, had cherished his gentle, filial nature. Finally, he spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of the future. Have you thought about what will happen if this gets out? The damage it will do to this family? Caleb swore it would never happen, that they would be more careful. But if the unthinkable did occur, he vowed to take full responsibility, to sever any connection between the scandal and the family name. The old man sighed, the fight draining out of him. I'm an old man with one foot in the grave. I can't control you anymore. I've already called your parents. They're on their way. You can explain it to them. At those words, Caleb's head snapped up. He saw the utter defeat in his grandfather's eyes, the deep lines of disappointment etched on his face. He had always seen his grandfather as invincible, the rock upon which their family was built. But looking at him now, he saw only a frail, heartbroken man approaching 90. A man who deserved peace, not this. A raw, painful grief welled up inside him. Tears streamed down Leo's face. He let go of Caleb's hand and crawled forward, clutching at the old man's legs. Grandfather, it's my fault. If I had never come to this family, none of this would have happened. I'm so sorry for betraying your love. The guilt was a physical weight crushing him. But I can't leave him. I really can't, he sobbed. I love him too much. Just then, his father's voice boomed from the doorway. What is going on in here? Robert Vance stormed into the room, his eyes landing on the photos scattered by the sofa. He snatched them up. His face turned a mottled red as he stared at the images, his hands shaking with rage. He pointed a trembling finger at Caleb. Are these real? The world seemed to spin around Caleb. He took a deep breath. Yes, Dad. They're real. We've been together for a long time. I'm sorry. The words were barely out of his mouth before Robert grabbed his father's heavy wooden cane and swung it with all his might. It landed squarely on Caleb's back with a sickening thud. Before anyone could react, Robert raised the cane again. Leo screamed, scrambling to throw himself over Caleb's back, shielding him with his own body. Dad! No! A searing pain shot through Caleb's back, exploding behind his eyes. The world went dark, and he knew no more. He woke to a blinding white ceiling and a sharp, antiseptic smell. He was in a hospital, lying on his stomach. His head throbbed, and his back burned with a dull, steady ache. The events in the study came rushing back. He must have fainted. At his side, Leo was carefully bandaging a deep cut on his palm, a wound Caleb hadn't even realized he'd inflicted on himself. Hearing him stir, Leo's head shot up, his eyes wide with a mixture of relief and fear. Caleb? Can you hear me? Does anything hurt? I'll get the doctor. Seeing Leo safe beside him, a wave of relief washed over Caleb. The pain receded to a manageable level. He grabbed Leo's wrist, his voice a dry rasp. Don't. Sit down. I need to tell you something. Leo immediately obeyed, his hands trembling as he held Caleb's. Caleb's mind was racing. Call Simon, he ordered. Tell him about the photos. Tell him Victor Ho is the key, but to get on a plane to Switzerland immediately. I need a DNA test on Julian Croft. Now, this wasn't a corporate attack. If all Ho wanted was to destroy Apex, he would have leaked the photos to the press. Sending them to his family was a personal, intimate blow. It was designed to tear them apart from the inside. And only one person would want that. Julian Croft. At the sound of the name, Leo froze. The pieces clicked into place, and a look of dawning horror washed over his face. He bit his lip, his eyes hardening with a resolve Caleb had never seen before. "Caleb," he said, his voice low and intense. "There's something I have to tell you." The evening sky outside the window was a deep, bruised purple. Leo looked down, unable to meet Caleb's eyes. "It's about Julian. And me." His voice was barely a whisper. Caleb thought of Leo's lifelong, inexplicable fear of the man. He pulled Leo closer. "Whatever it is, you can tell me." Leo took a deep, shuddering breath. "Caleb, no matter what I say, will you believe me?" "Of course," Caleb said without hesitation. And so the story tumbled out. A story of another life, another time, where Leo had loved a Caleb who had not loved him back. A life where Julian Croft, consumed by a jealous obsession, had destroyed him. A life that had ended in pain and regret, only for him to wake up as a child on the day he first ran away from home with a second chance. A chance to find Caleb again. "I came back to find you," Leo whispered, his voice thick with unshed tears. "I engineered everything. The allergy incident. All of it. I did it so you would notice me, so you would love me. I'm not the innocent person you think I am. I'm selfish. And I'm so sorry. If I weren't your brother, none of this would have happened." He finally looked up, his eyes pleading. "But if I weren't your brother, would you ever have loved me?" Caleb was silent, his world tilting on its axis. He wasn't angry. He was heartbroken. Not for the deception, but for the unimaginable pain Leo must have carried alone for all these years. He finally understood. The instant connection, the way Leo knew him better than he knew himself, the depth of a love that had always seemed too profound for a child. He pulled Leo into his arms, holding him tight. "You idiot," he whispered, his own voice thick with emotion. "Of course I would have. How could I not?" He tilted Leo's chin up, forcing him to meet his gaze. "Leo, I love you. If you were me, would you care about any of that?" A choked sob escaped Leo, a sound of pure, unadulterated relief. He clung to Caleb, his body shaking with the release of 2 decades of fear. After a long time, when Leo's tears had subsided, Caleb held him at arm's length. "The man in the sanatorium," he said, his voice grim. "It's a decoy. The real Julian Croft is already here." He looked at Leo, a terrible realization dawning. "And he's right under our noses." Just as Leo handed Caleb his phone to call Simon, the room door opened. It was his mother, Eleanor. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her face a portrait of grief. Leo's newfound hope faltered. He left the room, slumping onto a bench in the hallway, head in his hands. Inside, Eleanor finally broke down. She spoke of her love for both of them, her confusion, her pain. She pleaded with Caleb, asking if there was any other way, if he couldn't just love someone else. Caleb knelt before her, taking her hands in his. He told her there wasn't. He told her that Leo was his responsibility, his love, his life. He told her that he couldn't live without him. He looked into his mother's tired eyes and begged for her understanding, knowing he was using her love for him as a weapon. Finally, after an eternity of silence, she nodded, tears streaming down her face. She pulled him into her arms, stroking his hair like she did when he was a child. "All right," she whispered, her voice breaking. "All right, I'll respect your choice." Caleb felt a sharp, painful relief. He called Leo back into the room. As Leo stood hesitantly in the doorway, Caleb's phone, which had fallen onto the sofa, vibrated with an incoming text message. He glanced down, his eyes narrowing when he saw it was from an unsaved number. He swiped it open. I heard you were in the hospital, Mr. Vance. I was so worried I could barely think. I wanted to come see you immediately, but I feared I would disturb your rest. I will come tomorrow morning instead. I'll bring your favorite breakfast. Don't eat anything before I arrive. Wait for me.